Former UN Ambassador Rick Barton is author of the new book, Peace Works. Well, let's talk about the people from Central America, mostly Honduras, traveling toward the U.S. border. What's your take on who they are and why they're on the move?
Well, I think they're on the move because they are scared in their own countries. First off, there's direct violence. They have the highest homicide rates in the world outside of a war zone. They're scared because they're living under mostly authoritarian regimes where there's no sense of what's going to happen to me the next day or whether I could get any kind of justice. And then they want more for themselves, so they're ambitious for some economic opportunities.
You expect them all to apply for U.S. asylum at an official checkpoint?
No, I don't. I think that, first off, most of them probably won't make it to that far. This is really hard work, and at least historically, the fact that they're traveling together increases some of their chances of some of them making it there because they won't get picked off as they go. But this is really difficult. It's a difficult struggle. So I think the obvious choice here, and the choice that my book really argues for, is help people where they live to make the best choices they can and to follow their own instincts. And so the United States is a catalyst for giving people those opportunities. We're not a colonial power. We escaped colonialism. We know how awful it was.
And perpetrated it in places.
And when we do it, it's never very good. And we occupy places like Haiti for a decade or two. It doesn't work. And lots of people die, and it doesn't help the soul of America, from my view.
So what would you do with Honduras?
But I actually had a chance to work in Honduras in my last job as the Assistant Secretary of State for Conflict and Stabilization Operations. And we just felt that the first thing that had to happen is that their political system needed to recognize that the homicides were the number one problem in their country. They had to get on top of that, and in every way. The first way was in recognizing that was their number one problem. And of course, in the presidential campaign, 2 presidential campaigns ago in Honduras, they did recognize this as the number one issue, and every candidate addressed it, partially because we helped them to focus on this, but also it then shows up in things like, if a homicide takes place, will any of the witnesses ever testify? Will the police actually take the testimony in a reliable way that doesn't result in the death of the witness? Will the courts actually move quickly enough? These are all very practical problems that, on the other hand, there were successes in Honduras. It wasn't like every policeman couldn't do an investigation and every prosecutor couldn't prosecute and every judge couldn't figure out a way. And there was a group right in downtown Tegucigalpa that was in the worst part of Tegucigalpa that was getting an 85% conviction rate. Now, if it's happening in one place in Honduras, could it happen anywhere else in Honduras? Well, of course it could. And so taking those experiences and trying to nationalize them and helping them to popularize them and recognizing that Hondurans could actually solve their own problems, those are all things the United States can help with, and they're inexpensive, and they don't require. For a while there in Honduras, we actually had a prosecutor from Seattle down there advising their prosecutors on how to build the cases on some of the high-profile cases, and that was useful, but not anywhere near as useful as finding the local example that we could build off of.
Do we have the trust of the people of Honduras, where the U.S. has been intervening since? Banana companies, building railroads and banks 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago.
So our checkered past is clearly a problem for us. On the other hand, many of these people don't have great choices. So they may not be totally trusting of us, but 40% of them trust us, and 22% of them trust their own government. So, it's oftentimes it's comparative.